Hey, Devils. I'm starting something new. I'm still not 100% comfortable being behind the mic, as my mannerisms kind of show off. What you're hearing in the background, my daughter is actually watching some YouTube stuff. Uh, I guess I'll link what she's watching in the doobly-doo. Um, I am starting a new thing. It's They're short little tutorial videos of how I solve and how I do little bits of art, based on questions I get from the Discord. Again, link in the doobly doo. Or if you're watching this on the page, there's a link up towards the top of my little banner. Well, the first question is from Kara. How the hell do hands work? Well, hands are one of the more difficult things in art, and if you've seen any of my stuff, I am not the greatest at them, but I have learned some shortcuts, and just hands are super complicated shapes because they change according to what angle they're at, what the fingers are doing. But in general, hands come down to some basic shapes. You have the palm, which is always slightly wider at the top where the fingers come out than at the wrist where the rest of the hand, where the arm meets the hand. You have your however many joints you need depending on how many fingers you have, and the thumb always comes out at the bottom of the hand shape. You have the saddle joint, a small joint, and the tip of the thumb. And with human hands anyway, the thumb's on a saddle joint, so when your hand's laid out flat, your thumb is actually sideways. So here's the muscle for the as part of the palm and the rest of the thumb. And you can pretty much do this with the rest of them. You know, you have the knuckle, then another little knuckle, and then the tip of the finger, and this little webbing. I don't know what's. Somebody will probably eventually, if anyone ever watches this video, will tell me the correct medical term for that little web that's right there. And then so on with the hand. One of the big things to remember is with hands, a lot of people really want to go and then do a V, like these joints are right next to each other, when there's actually a small gap right there. Middle finger is usually longer than the index. Index and ring are usually around the same size. Pinky smaller than the rest. Then you have the flesh on the side of the palm. I'm gonna fix that a bit more. It's driving me nuts. Flesh that's on the side of the palm. The gap. The gap. Always mind the gap. Alright. And then the rest of the wrist. Uh, my personal style, I like putting the little bone right there. I don't know why. And not fun fact, not every human has this, but I like to put the little tendon that's right there. That usually goes into the rest of the hand. So that's my cheat for a palm. Up here, just a little line, shading, whatever, to show kind of the meat of the under knuckle right there. But there you got the palm. Just clean up, yada yada. And I just erased things I probably should have kept. But hey, what is a tutorial anyway? That's how I usually do them. On the side, you have your hand. If we're doing this, the thumb side towards us. Hey, baby girl. You have the saddle knuckle, the hand, the finger. Uh, Sometimes I forget what knuckle I'm on. Now here, because you're watching it from the side, and you know how the thumb's on the side, you actually get to draw the top of the thumb. And the web brings the side of the thumb basically in a curve with the rest of the hand. And you can exaggerate the knuckles as you need, yada yada. And usually how a hand curves, you don't even have to show much of the other knuckles. Huh. And then yada shading. The rest of the palm, depending on your angle. And kind of just sculpt it as you need. Wow, that's actually, for a tutorial video, looking horrible. I'm supposed to be giving good examples. But you get the basic idea. You have the knuckle, the joint, the bone, the knuckle, the bone, the knuckle. You know, same here. There's a joint right there. And the thumb. Uh, Beyond that, it's really just variations of the shape. Like if you want to do a peace sign, you remember your knuckle, 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 meat of the palm. The thumb comes in, meets the meat of their thumb, a little bit of the palm. These knuckles come in. What's really interesting about the human hand as well is that when it's made a fist, there's little to no gap between fingers. And then, remembering there's knuckles here, the little gap. And of course, just clean up as you go. Whoops. Looks like I got stuck. There we go. Things like that. And of course, when you reverse the hand, it's the same principle. A little wider on top. Remember your knuckles. Remember, this is the side of the thumb because the saddle joint has the thumb laying on its side, more or less. And of course, me and my love of that little bone. And middle finger slightly longer, ring finger about the same size, pinky smallest of all. Yeah. Sorry, I know these are very rough and all that. I'm assuming that you guys have the basic idea of how things are drawn. And then you have your knuckles as prominent, the little bones right in here, the tendons are as prominent as you need them to be. And sometimes you have to sculpt. Remember to shrink, be proportionate to the hand, because the middle finger, when folded, should rest somewhere in the center of the meat of the thumb. So all of your fingers should be able to rest somewhere around this meat of the thumb. So if that helps with your proportions at all. Uh, I think when it comes to hands, that's all I really got for you. Uh, oh, fists. I should draw a fist real quick. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Alright, so a fist, if you're just looking at it from the back, is pretty simple. You take your same shape, remember where your knuckles are, and just not draw in fingers. That's kind of a no-brainer. Front on view though, a fist kind of has a weird square shape. The index knuckle and the middle knuckle are usually more pronounced, with the ring and pinky knuckles tapering off. Now, a common mistake would be for someone just to basically just go blah and blah. But the sheer fact is that the fingers don't go all the way up. Uh, so a lot of people want to bring the fingers all the way up, but you have to make room for the knuckles themselves. So what I like to do is just bring the finger up to about where the knuckles should be, make little marks, and then just kind of shape out the rest of the fingers, because they do come out of those little knuckles. And boy, I am sucking this up. And of course, remember the thumb, the saddle joint, all that. I say saddle joint a lot. Uh, a thing to also remember is that if you ever actually look at your hand, your knuckles aren't perfectly flat and aligned. The index is a little higher, the ring a little below that, and then your uh, other two knuckles kind of finish out the rest of the shape. So I like to shade underneath them to kind of show that that's like curved to them. Uh, Now a fist on from the thumb's point of view, or from the thumb side, you would draw the same basic shapes, yada yada. A thing to remember though is that when you're making a fist, like to punch something, the knuckles are always perpendicular to the striking surface, because that's what you actually hit with. The fingers come down, come inside, and the human hand anyway, has no real space inside. So the thumb wraps around on the outside, then you show kind of the spiral pattern or whatever for the fingers themselves, the shapes of the fingers, and I am just, boy, this is just a bad day. Uh, yeah, there we go. The side of the thumb, all that. Always be sure to look at your reference, even if it's just looking at your own hand making a fist. It'll get you a pretty good idea. Now on the pinky side, remember the knuckles are parallel or perpendicular to the strike. You have the meat of the hand, the meat of the palm, the pinky curled up into it, the shapes that, oh, I'm doing way better this time. Okay, sorry. The rest of the wrist, and of course you see the thumb, and you can kind of just shade it out from there. Uh, well, thank you guys for watching. This is a very rough tutorial for how to draw hands and, I guess, fists. Please join me again while I tackle the next question. Thank you, and have a good evening.